Breaking news here on HQ. Browns defensive end Myles Garrett has just become the highest paid non-QB in NFL history. That is according to our NFL insider Jonathan Jones. It's an extension to stay in Cleveland worth more than it's worth $40 million a year. 123.5 of that is guaranteed. As we give you a look at the highest paid non-quarterbacks currently in the NFL, Garrett tops the list, followed by Max Crosby. So you either rush the passer or you catch the passes, and you're in for something of a payday when you do it at an elite level. Of course, the context to this, Garrett was demanding a trade from Cleveland, saying he was intent on leaving the Browns. Not anymore with this new contract extension. Breaking news all over the place here in the NFL on this Sunday. No one better to bring in than our NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. Okay, Jonathan, I mean, boy, nice quiet Sunday for you here. We'll start with Garrett before we move on to other breaking news with a pass rusher. What do you make of this? I know everybody says, you know, money isn't everything, but it seems to have certainly spoken in Cleveland.
Well, the Cleveland Browns, speaking of speaking, the Browns were always saying they weren't moving Myles Garrett. Sometimes you have to believe folks at their word. Andrew Berry reiterated it over and over again. Myles Garrett, of course, he wanted to trade out of Cleveland, or at least that is what he said. Sometimes these are negotiating tactics, right? And what we were reporting at the NFL Combine more than a week ago in Indianapolis was it was likely that Myles Garrett would rescind his trade request if he were made the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. The Browns went above and beyond, right? I mean, we had the graphic up a bit ago where it was 35.5 with Max Crosby. It is very, very rare to see any NFL team go $3.5 million over the market, over the top of the market. But that is what the Browns have ultimately done here with Myles Garrett, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. He is a remarkable pass rusher. And look, this is also the sort of math that the Browns have made. As he gets closer to 30, the Browns believe that Myles Garrett is a first ballot Hall of Famer who is going to continue his career trajectory into his 30s, a la Julius Peppers. That's who they believe Myles Garrett ultimately is going to be, an all-decades player in his 20s who will continue to be an all-decades player in his 30s. We see right there where he is on that list. Also, what is interesting to note here, because he is the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, well, Jamar Chase wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. That number just went up, and it went up by a lot, right? And so the Bengals, I thought, were making a mistake back at the Combine where they were repeating that phrase, highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Every day that passed that they didn't get a deal done, that number was going to go up. And so now Jamar Chase, while he has been seeking something in the 40s, well, he is justified in that. Hey, Bengals, if you want to make me that guy, well, here's the new high watermark. Also, in that same division, the AFC North, TJ Watt is in line for a contract extension. And so now that number is going up. Probably should have done it last year. Probably could have gotten it done at $30 million per year. Now that number is going up for a premier pass rusher in the AFC North. So the Browns accomplish a number of things with this contract. They take care of their own. They get rid of that silly trade request. They lock in Myles Garrett, whom they believe will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. They hurt the Cincinnati Bengals where it comes to their wallet. They hurt the Pittsburgh Steelers where it comes to their wallet. A number of things accomplished this fine Sunday morning, now afternoon, for the Cleveland Browns.
So if Cleveland reset the quarterback market in a weird way with Deshaun Watson, the Browns do it again here with Myles Garrett as a pass rusher. Speaking of that position, Von Miller, really good after getting after the quarterback, but it appears, JJ, that he won't be doing it in Buffalo, or at least not for the salary he was due to make in 2025. Your reaction to the Bills' move here to release Von Miller?
There were really only two options for the Buffalo Bills and Von Miller. It was either Von would agree to take a pay cut, or he would be released. So you're seeing the reports that, hey, the Bills would be open to him returning. Well, they probably would have been open to him returning at a lesser number. That obviously did not take place. Von Miller, he struggled coming off that ACL a couple of years ago. He tried to round into form this past season, but look, he's 35. He'll be 36 later this month. You have to imagine that Von, who has always been on a contender, winning the Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos and being the MVP of Super Bowl 50, winning with the Los Angeles Rams, going to the Buffalo Bills for that incredible 6-year contract that he signed a few years ago. But now, again, he's going to be going into his age 36 season. He's going to be in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame 5 years after his retirement. But he doesn't want that retirement to happen just yet. So I would imagine he would go to a contending team, one that will probably have to pay him some sort of respectable salary, one that will probably be heavily incentivized, if you will, because of his career and because of what you were hoping to get out of Von in that playoff push. You're going to have to take care of him certainly in September and October to make sure that he is going to be there and be healthy in January. So those are his prospects. And look, a team that may be in on a Trey Hendrickson, for example, if they were going to trade for Trey Hendrickson and they miss out on getting Trey, maybe they can go after a Von Miller, a place that frankly makes so much sense to me, especially with a heavily incentivized contract, getting interesting and funky with the cap. Well, the Philadelphia Eagles, who could always use a pass rusher, a big name guy, and they seemingly have endless amounts of cash.
Yeah, no kidding. One of my favorite phrases, I think, in all sports is legal tampering period. That begins Monday at noon. Free agency will then really start Wednesday. And of course, you know, we've talked endlessly about the quarterbacks that are on the market. And now with that trade Friday night, JJ, of Geno to Vegas, how does that reshape things in your mind in terms of Seattle filling a need? What is the best fit for Sam Darnold? And as we give you some of the other names on your screen, we of course never forget about Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson there. Give us kind of your thoughts ahead of Wednesday in terms of how this quarterback market maybe shakes out.
Yeah, so right now a lot of folks are anticipating that Sam Darnold will be a Seattle Seahawk. There is no longer an expectation that he would return to Minnesota. It's my understanding that in terms of contract guarantees that Minnesota was willing to pay him in 2025. But hey, they still have J.J. McCarthy there. And so any sort of money and guarantees beyond this upcoming season, that was going to be hard for the Minnesota Vikings as it related to Sam Darnold, where he could get a whole lot more money elsewhere. One place that we have been reporting would not be in the Sam Darnold market would be the New York Giants. But they may certainly be in the market for a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. And so that is a place that you certainly have to watch for Aaron Rodgers to land. Look, he is an option in Minnesota, especially because you know that he's a short-term option, a one-year guy. They have such an incredible offense and talent around. Maybe J.J. McCarthy's not ready. Maybe he can continue to work back from that knee injury. Of course, Aaron Rodgers will be following the exact same path as Brett Favre. So it's just incredible to even consider. But that is certainly an option. One outside option, the Pittsburgh Steelers as well, who are hoping that they can re-sign Justin Fields. However, Justin Fields certainly has a market out there. Keep a close watch on the New York Jets, who are very, very interested, according to sources, in securing Justin Fields. And then lastly, we had Kirk Cousins up there. We've been reporting for some time it was no guarantee whatsoever that the Atlanta Falcons would release Kirk Cousins. Well, the Atlanta Falcons continue to posture as though they will keep Kirk Cousins. And in fact, I talked with a source yesterday who said the Geno Smith trade only emboldens the Atlanta Falcons. If for Geno you get a third-round pick, well, you've already paid Kirk Cousins. It is a manageable salary when you can, and if you believe that he's going to continue to get better in that second year from the Achilles tear. And so, yeah, the Atlanta Falcons, who have already paid him $90 million, keep you on the roster, pay another $10 million like that into 2026, but let's at least get something in return for Kirk Cousins. So, look, they could cut him. It would surprise me if they release him because quarterbacks, we've shown the money. We've talked about it all the time. You have the Geno Smith trade as a third rounder. They could get something for him. The Falcons know that. The rest of the league knows that. And so it is very, very possible that they keep him after the legal tampering window opens and after the start of free agency and make someone come trade for him.
All right, JJ, finally here, when we put up the graphic of the top paid non-QBs, we mentioned it was all pass rushers and pass catchers, so we know they come at something of a premium or at least even a high price here. In terms of the wide receiver market this offseason, DK Metcalf wants a trade. The Seahawks have already let go of a Tyler Lockett. Who are some of the names we should really be watching out for when it comes officially to Wednesday?
Yes, certainly keep a close watch on DK Metcalf, who does, by all appearances, seem to be on his way out of Seattle. Like, Carolina is certainly interested in DK Metcalf. And if you're going to trade for him, you certainly are also going to have to give him a contract extension. So that is something to consider when you were thinking about trade compensation. I know the Seahawks were looking for something that was similar to a Tyreek Hill trade. That was never going to happen. Look for a low 2, maybe a high 3, ultimately to get DK Metcalf. Someone else who's out there, Chris Godwin, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver. Look, the Buccaneers may be competing with the Jacksonville Jaguars, considering Liam Cohen, now the head coach there. Some familiarity, of course, staying in Florida. Do not ever forget this, folks who are listening to this when it comes to free agency. State taxes, Florida. So you have Tampa Bay, you have Jacksonville, where they can pay a player, and that player ultimately takes home, as we all understand, more money than they would in, let's say, Massachusetts, for example. So you have a team like the New England Patriots willing to spend, and spend big, on a wide receiver. Just missed out on Ronnie Stanley. They're going to continue to look at the offensive line market, but they want a wide receiver. They're going to have to go $3, $4, $5 million per year above what a team in Florida, for example, could pay. Another team looking for a wide receiver, the LA Chargers as well. Keep a close watch on them as it relates to DK Metcalf, because the new Chargers wide receivers coach there, Sanjay Lal, he was also the Seattle Seahawks wide receivers coach a couple years ago, so that is a possible reunion for DK Metcalf in LA.
No better to cover it than our Jonathan Jones here. Breaking news on this Sunday. The NFL offseason is boring, JJ, said no one ever. Jonathan, thank you for joining us here on HQ. A look at the key offseason dates here for the NFL, and we said that illegal tampering period begins on Monday. The league year, which we're all waiting for it to open at this point when these deals can become official, Wednesday, and all eyes on that NFL draft being held this year in Green Bay.
Got some breaking news into the HQ. Davante Adams and the Los Angeles Rams have agreed to a 2-year contract worth $46 million. Adams guaranteed $26 million. Adams had 1,063 receiving yards in 14 games last season between the Raiders and the Jets. He's gone over the 1,000-yard mark of the last 5 years, now on his third team in 5 months, joining up with Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams. And for more on Davante Adams to the Rams, we turn to CBS Sports lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones. JJ, Adams to the Rams, 2 years, 46, 26 guaranteed. How'd this whole thing come together?
So the LA Rams obviously moving on from Cooper Kupp. That's what they have known now this entire offseason. But they needed someone else at wide receiver to pair with Puka Nacua. And then, of course, we all knew that Davante Adams was going to come available this offseason. He was at a cap number that was far too large, larger, frankly, than any other wide receiver in the NFL today. So the Jets were always going to release him. They did that. And then it was a matter of, does Davante Adams want to pair with Aaron Rodgers, or does Davante Adams want to do his own thing? He is from California. It meant a lot to him after he left Green Bay to be closer to home. That's why he, in part, went to the Las Vegas Raiders. And then, of course, pairing with Aaron Rodgers didn't work out. But still, 1,000 receiving yards this past season for Adams between the two teams. Now he goes to L.A., where, he's going to be that threat on third down. We all know and understand that. He's going to be a downfield threat as well for Matthew Stafford. This is a heck of a Rams roster that they have. And Davante Adams on the other side of 30, it's just a 2-year deal. But remember, of course, this Rams team was a player or two away from potentially being in the NFC Championship game, losing in the snow to the Philadelphia Eagles. So Davante Adams getting back with a contender, getting back to California, signing with the Rams.
All right, so you mentioned Cooper Kupp. He's going to be on the market. What does this do to the market? Does it set the number? And who's the most coveted receiver out there right now?
It'll be interesting to see because I know I actually got a text from one executive who was asking me about the actual structure of Davante Adams' contract. We say 2 years, $46 million, 26 of it guaranteed. Okay, what does that look like? Because there are a number of veteran wide receivers who are going to be out there, right? Chris Godwin is probably at the top of that list for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, someone who is probably going to fetch comfortably in the 20s. And I'm talking about 23, 24, $25 million per year. You also have T. Higgins, who is tagged. And the more that things like this happen, the more the T. Higgins number just goes up. And we know that the Bengals are going to have some trouble getting him. They're going to have some trouble signing Jamar Chase, whose number just went up today after the Myles Garrett extension for the Cleveland Browns. So at the top of the wide receiver market, you certainly have a Chris Godwin, who is going to be a free agent beginning at 12 p.m. Eastern on Monday. DK Metcalf, of course, can be traded for. Something like a day 2 pick would get the job done. But he, of course, also needs a contract extension, something that will be closer to that $30 million per year range. Maybe not at 30, but closer to that. So that's the top of the wide receiver market. And so setting a floor right here for a multi-time first-team all-pro wide receiver like Davante Adams. Now you have it here at averaging $23 million per year. I would imagine that's going to be at least what we see Chris Godwin getting.
All right, that is CBS Sports lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones on a day that's becoming a pretty big news-breaking day in the NFL. JJ, thank you so much for the latest on Davante Adams to the Los Angeles Rams. And Adams' second most touchdown receptions in the NFL since 2019, second only to Mike Evans, of course, of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now Adams will join up with Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua and the Los Angeles Rams. A 2-year deal worth $46 million, 26 of that guaranteed. 6 years, $330, $250 million guaranteed. Almost as much as we pay Jonathan Jones to break such news here on CBS Sports HQ. JJ, our CBS Sports lead NFL insider. Okay, he had 4 years remaining on the deal. How did they come together on this new deal that gives him $250 million in guaranteed and averages $55 million a year for Josh Allen?
Well, I mean, it helps when you win the NFL MVP, right? It helps when you are as consistent as Josh Allen has been for the Buffalo Bills. It helps when you embody that city and everyone embraces you and you lead the team the way that Josh Allen has done. He was due for a new contract, and so he gets one. Now, a lot of times when you have 4 years left on a deal, no one gets a new contract. This was a unique one where when they extended him several years ago, sometimes you could almost replace a contract. They just kind of tacked on his extension to his existing rookie deal, and so that's why he only played 2 years of a 6-year extension. But with the market doing what it was doing at the quarterback position, where we saw so many quarterbacks this past offseason get $55 million per year deals, and then Josh Allen, who is the Buffalo Bills, who was literally the most valuable player in the NFL, well, it was time for a true-up, if you will. And so that is what has taken place. And, of course, look, Josh Allen could have held the Buffalo Bills' feet to the fire. He could have said, hey, Dak Prescott is over there who hasn't gone to a conference championship game, and he's averaging $60 million per year. And so much of that is fully guaranteed. Well, I want that. I want more. I want 61. I want 62. But Josh Allen, knowing, of course, that Buffalo still has to build around him, and not ever, and I'd been told this, he doesn't have to be the highest paid whatever. But what Buffalo just did here was, while they did not make him the highest paid quarterback in NFL history, by guaranteeing $250 million, that now tops Dak Prescott's guarantee of $240 million. They always knew they were going to pay him. They want him around for a very long time, and now he is contractually tied to them through 2030. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and guarantee that money because we know that you are our guy. So Josh Allen, he was never going anywhere. This offseason would not have all been surprised to see him get a contract extension. And so now, before the start of free agency, when Buffalo can start getting work done with some free agents, they get the deal done with Josh.
All right, so since the NFL is a salary cap league, a salary cap that keeps going up, numbers do matter here because these contracts don't sort of operate in a vacuum. Where are the Bills situated at this point as far as their cap situation? How does this contract affect it? Because we know that this is their window. Clearly, this is their opportunity right now through 2030 with Josh Allen to get that elusive Super Bowl in Buffalo.
Yeah, no doubt. And surely this is a deal that is probably going to lower his cap number for 2025 a decent amount. We know that they just released Von Miller in a cost-cutting move, saving them about $8.4 million in cap space. They don't have a ton of room to work with. They just signed Greg Rousseau to a 4-year, $80 million contract over the weekend. So the Buffalo Bills, they've been up against the cap. I'm certain that General Manager Brandon Beane was quite relieved when that salary cap figure came in a couple of weeks ago, and it was a little bit higher than we all anticipated after a record-setting year this past year. So continuing to get those spikes, every little bit helps the Buffalo Bills, who, look, you go back to last year about this time, and a lot of folks were saying, hey, maybe the championship window has closed for the Buffalo Bills, right? There was no more Stephon Diggs. There was no more, a lot of guys that we had seen around for some time. But they show that, no, the championship window is absolutely still wide open for us so long as we have Josh Allen, is what the Buffalo Bills are saying. Now, of course, they have to get over the hump of the Kansas City Chiefs. That has been their bugaboo. That has been the one team that has held them back over the years. But I even asked Brandon Beane about that at the Combine, and it's not about structuring your team to beat the Chiefs, because then all of a sudden somebody can come sneak up behind you and beat you. But they know how close they are. They know that they are right there, and they do believe that as long as they have Josh Allen, they certainly have a chance at a Lombardi.
All right, Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports lead NFL insider. Man, you're doing yeoman's work on this Sunday with breaking news. Josh Allen signing a record-breaking deal worth $250 million guaranteed over 6 years with the Buffalo Bills. JJ, thanks so much. All right, here's a look at the largest contracts now in NFL history. Josh Allen's deal, technically a 6-year, $330 million deal. Again, that $250 guarantee is the highest ever. His total money, not the same as Patrick Mahomes, who got a $450 million deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. We say hello to CBS Sports lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones. How does this deal work? Steelers' second-round pick goes to Seattle. DK Metcalf to Pittsburgh for a new contract as well. How does this work for both teams?
So the Pittsburgh Steelers have for some time wanted to get another wide receiver, right? We know that they were in the Brandon Ayuk sweepstakes dating back to last year, obviously missed out on him. And so they have been looking far and wide for another wide receiver. And then DK Metcalf comes available in Seattle as they start to do a little bit of a house cleansing for themselves. Second round pick, you know, that's fairly pricey, especially when you have to give a contract extension to the player. But Pittsburgh, obviously, again, wanting a wide receiver, needing a wide receiver opposite George Pickens. And so determining that that is worth the cost for them to go out and get DK Metcalf. I know that there were some reports out there that he wanted warm weather. Certainly, that was a preference of his. You know, the LA Chargers were believed to be a top candidate to get his services. The New England Patriots also certainly interested. Carolina Panthers, Houston Texans. But it's the Pittsburgh Steelers who quietly, with a second-round pick and a very large contract averaging $30 million per year, ultimately land DK Metcalf.
All right, so the big question then becomes, who's throwing him the ball? Who's going to be the quarterback of the Steelers?
Yeah, I mean, and hopefully within a day, the Steelers will know who their quarterback is going to be. They had Russell Wilson and Justin Fields this past year. They said throughout the year they'd love if they could have both of them back. That was never realistic. But then at the end of the year, it became very clear that the Steelers would rather have Justin Fields than Russell Wilson, despite, of course, benching Justin Fields. Could it be Fields that signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Yeah, it's possible. However, multiple sources have indicated to me that the New York Jets are a top, leading, at the top candidate for Justin Fields, however you want to phrase that or frame it. A lot of people believe that Justin Fields is either going to go to the Steelers or he's going to go to the Jets. And so we certainly will see how that handles itself. Another quarterback that could potentially go to Pittsburgh is Aaron Rodgers. That is a possibility for him. Minnesota is going to be a possibility for him. The New York Giants are a possibility, and so are the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this quarterback carousel right now, there shouldn't be anything else going on on Sunday night as it relates to the quarterbacks, because these guys are still technically with their teams. They are not yet free agents. And so we certainly will see once we get to 12 p.m. Eastern on Monday for, and we all love this phrase, Russ, the legal tampering window.
Oh, the legal, exactly. Look, I got one more question for you, and it's about Seattle. Because you talk about a team that now needs a quarterback and a receiver one. I mean, this is a total teardown? Is that what's going on here? Who they put on the field next year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the entire plan for the Seattle Seahawks takes form and takes shape. Are they just going to be a ground and pound team, right? Going ahead and letting go of Tyler Lockett and trading a DK Metcalf. You have a defensive head coach. So is that what you're going to do, is just try to dominate teams and break their will at the line of scrimmage on the offensive side? That'll be interesting for me to see. Yes, a lot of talk around Sam Darnold being the next Seattle Seahawks quarterback, and I think that if you ask me what is the best possibility, that is probably the best possibility out there. That ultimately Darnold is going to secure a deal that will be a multi-year deal with guarantees for multiple years that will land him in Seattle. But again, we all have to wait until Monday for any of that to be unofficially official.
Well, even before legal tampering begins with the NFL, Jonathan Jones hard at work on a Sunday with a lot of breaking news. And we thank you so much, JJ, for spending your time with us. All right, here are the largest contracts in Steelers history. And by the way, DK Metcalf is about to sign it reportedly. It's a 5-year deal worth $150 million after Metcalf is traded from Seattle for a second-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.
Now, the NFL news started at 11:51 a.m. Eastern Sunday morning. That is when the Browns made Myles Garrett the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Garrett agreed to an extension worth $40 million a year and a reported $123.5 million in guaranteed money. Now, all of this coming after Garrett requested a trade out of Cleveland.
And then things started getting really crazy around 6:55 Eastern. It was announced that Davante Adams was signing a 2-year deal with the Rams worth $46 million with $26 million guaranteed. Adams had 1,063 receiving yards in 14 games last season between the Raiders and Jets.
Then at 7:38 p.m. Eastern, another one. The Buffalo Bills gave Josh Allen the most guaranteed money in NFL history. The Bills gave Allen a 6-year extension worth $330 million with $250 million guaranteed. Now, Allen had 4 years left on his existing deal, but the Bills decided to reward the NFL MVP with a whole lot of money.
And wait, not done yet. 7:49 p.m. Eastern, DK Metcalf got the trade he was asking for. Seattle sending Metcalf to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a second-round pick. Steel City giving Metcalf a 5-year, $150 million contract. But the question remains, who's going to be throwing the ball to him in Pittsburgh?
Now, for more on the wild day of NFL news that was, welcoming in 2-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden. BMAC Steelers went out, acquired DK Metcalf, sending a second-round pick to Seattle for the wide receiver. We had our resident Steeler on our air, yes, you, as the trade happened. We got to take a look at your live reaction earlier Sunday.
I got one more for you, BMAC, and it deals with your Pittsburgh Steelers sending a second-round pick to the Seattle Seahawks for DK Metcalf who is expected to sign a new contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think we understand how you feel about this news.
I'm trying to keep my composure because for our viewers that are watching us, I literally heard this when Russ read this to me. So you got my natural reaction for a second-round pick. Let's go, Omar. Shout out to Omar right now. I got to send him a text right now. Mike T as well. Great job, because I can tell you this much when I talk to a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans that know me personally, and we had these phone conversations. The same question was asked to me. What are we doing? What are we doing? What's going on? We've been quiet. We haven't made any moves. I'm like, yo, I don't know. Just be patient. Patient is a virtue, right? Be patient. And then came the information that my guy, Russ, just gave me. Go ahead and get that second-round pick, Seattle. You can have it. Come on, DK Metcalf. I don't know who's going to wear number 14, but that's between DK and George Pickens. I can care less. I don't care anything about that. We got a go-getter to add to what we already have in terms of George Pickens, because this was an offense in the Pittsburgh Steelers, Russ. They lack playmakers. They lack playmakers. They didn't have that guy outside of GP that you really had to devote extra attention to and kind of monitor, right? Now you got to scout DK. You got to give him extra attention. And if you do that, oh, GP, are you with me? George Pickens can go ahead and do outstanding numbers. So that is the first major piece of this puzzle that they're putting together now. They're in Pittsburgh.
I mean, B-Mac, I'm sure you're still pretty fired up with that one. But now with some time to digest, I got to ask, did Omar and Mike T respond to your texts?
Oh, my goodness. I'm jacked. Steeler Nation is jacked right now. If you go on X, if you go on any social media outlet, Madeline, Steeler fans are elated, and they have a reason to be elated because of DK Metcalf and his potential. He's only 27 years old. He's still in the prime of his prime years. He's in the pinnacle of that. And this has been an area of concern for the Pittsburgh Steelers for quite some time. Omar Khan has done a phenomenal job in trying to go get a difference maker at the wide receiver position. He did so a year ago. Thought they had Brandon Ayuk. That fell through the cracks. And then, of course, seeing how the season went, you needed to add talent to the offense, especially to the pass-catching position. And he found a way to go get one of the more coveted wide receivers that was actually available in DK Metcalf. I'm jacked right now. I don't know how I'm going to go to sleep. And to your point earlier, I heard as you started the show, free agency haven't started yet. There's still a lot of chaos that's going to take place. But right now, my poor little heart can't take any more outstanding news. So hopefully there's nothing else that will transpire with the Pittsburgh Steelers or the NFL in totality, because it has been an outstanding Sunday.
I mean, B-Mac, with the drama that we lacked at the franchise tag deadline, we are more than making up for it right now. I got to say, though, when I first heard this news about DK, I thought, interesting. DK Metcalf to Pittsburgh, potentially reuniting with Russell Wilson, the quarterback he was with when he did some of his best work in Seattle. Maybe that's a possibility. I know the Steelers haven't made the decision yet on who their quarterback is going to be, but let's take a look and a listen to our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, on the latest with the Steelers quarterback situation.
They had Russell Wilson and Justin Fields this past year. They said throughout the year they'd love if they could have both of them back. That was never realistic. But then at the end of the year, it became very clear that the Steelers would rather have Justin Fields than Russell Wilson, despite, of course, benching Justin Fields. Could it be Fields that signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Yeah, it's possible. However, multiple sources have indicated to me that the New York Jets are a top, leading, at the top candidate for Justin Fields, however you want to phrase that or frame it. A lot of people believe that Justin Fields is either going to go to the Steelers or he's going to go to the Jets. And so we certainly will see how that handles itself. Another quarterback that could potentially go to Pittsburgh is Aaron Rodgers. That is a possibility for him. Minnesota is going to be a possibility for him. The New York Giants are a possibility, and so are the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Now, B-Mac, of course, we know that free agency negotiating period doesn't start until Monday at noon Eastern, but where would you like to see your Steelers go with the quarterback position? Who do you want thrown to DK?
Justin Fields. I would love to see the Pittsburgh Steelers sign Justin Fields back. Here's why. In 6 starts, Madeline, they were 4-2. He played really, really good football. You can tell he started to find his stride within the offense. But the thing that I love about Justin Fields in terms of becoming a playmaker, he has that attribute within his game. He can become a playmaker, especially when you look at his ability to extend runs or become a +1 in the running game, especially in the red zone area. When he was not in the lineup, when Russell got into the lineup, especially in December football, when the pocket was not comfortable for him, he either threw the football into the stands or he got sacked. He didn't give you anything outside of that. With Justin Fields, Madeline, he can extend plays. He can buy time. So if you're able to build with him, not to mention he's only 25 years old. He's 25. So the ceiling is there. The potential is there. He would be my lead guy in trying to retain to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I can say this. I highly doubt DK would have agreed to an extension if he didn't get any kind of wind on who the quarterback will be for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because one thing we know about DK, of course, he want to go get his bag. The money is important, but also who is throwing him the football is overly important as well. So I highly doubt DK would have went to Allegheny County not knowing who the quarterback potentially would be. So if DK was okay in getting this extension, clearly he believes the quarterback will be a guy that can get him the football and then make the necessary plays for them to be successful in 2025.
I mean, hey, he did say he wanted to go somewhere warm that's a contender and $30 million a year. He got the bag, maybe a contender, warm, not so much, but hey, can't have it all. Another wide receiver in the news Sunday, though, 5 days after being released by the Jets. I'm talking about Davante Adams. He signed a 2-year deal with the Rams. Now, he's put up 1,000 yards in each of the past 5 seasons. So, B-Mac, what is your impression of Adams taking his talents to L.A. and teaming up with Matthew Stafford and the Rams?
Madeline, this is another move I'm in love with. My goodness, this was a great job by Les Snead. Les Snead has done a masterful job in terms of acquiring talent via free agency or through the draft. Another big-time job when you talk about moving on from Cooper Kupp, being able to add another dynamic playmaker to their offense along with the play caller in Sean McVay. You talked about the quarterback in Matthew Stafford. This is a great move for both sides, Davante Adams and the Rams. Because, of course, you have Puka Nacua, but adding Davante Adams, he gives you another experienced, savvy route runner. You talked about what he's done over the last 5 years. 1,000 yards, that's consistency. Look at the job he did a year ago in terms of starting with the Raiders, being moved to the New York Jets, clearly not the best ideal circumstances in terms of what was surrounding him, but he still gave you over 1,000 yards. Production is something that he's been tied to. With Cooper Kupp, outside of having that record-breaking year in 2021, he hasn't been healthy, and he hasn't given the numbers because he hasn't been on the football field. With Davante Adams, yes, he is 32, but he hasn't shown any sign of slowing down. And you're not telling Davante to come in and be the hero for the offense. You're telling Davante to come in and make the necessary plays because they have other playmakers on the offense, not to mention their quarterback is a legit gunslinger when it comes to throwing accurate passes. And, oh, by the way, a no-look here or there. So when you factor this all into the equation, I love this move. And, of course, Davante loved it as well because who doesn't like tall palm trees and nice weather when you're living out in Los Angeles?
Who doesn't? Am I right? I mean, hey, it was an eventful day Sunday. You got new contracts being signed, players being traded, players on the move. When you look at everything so far that has happened, B-Mac, who's your biggest winner from Sunday?
Come on, Madeline. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're my biggest winner because no one saw this at all, right? When you look at everything that transpired, we knew someone was going to sign Davante Adams, right? We knew Josh Allen would get a mega game-breaking, record-breaking deal. We knew that. We anticipated those things happening in the near future, but no one anticipated DK being traded to Pittsburgh. We felt like he could be traded. We felt like there would be a team that would make the necessary moves to make it happen, but no one thought it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then when you factor in how much of a need this is for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it makes them even more of the winner with everything that has transpired this weekend. So for me, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers because this was a big-time need. It was highly surprising, and the relationship with DK and what they do offensively along with playing alongside, as we see it now, George Pickens, this should be an outstanding matchup.
I mean, hey, we got a lot of news that is sparking joy for BMAC right now. It's bringing you a lot of joy on this Sunday. But what about the biggest loser on Sunday's news?
Well, Madeline, the biggest loser, and they were not involved in anything that happened today, but they're my biggest loser, and it's the Cincinnati Bengals. And here's why. When you look at everything that happened today with DK, with Davante, even with Myles Garrett, getting a new contract, this will all affect the Bengals. It will have some type of issue created with the Cincinnati Bengals, and here's why. You have to pay T. Higgins. Paying T. Higgins was already a difficult feat, but now paying T. Higgins with DK receiving the deal that he's getting around $30 million per year makes it even more difficult to go pay T. Higgins, a guy who is in search of a nice deal in terms of overall contract and, most importantly, guaranteed money and per year salary. And secondly, outside of that, Myles Garrett, when they waited around and allowed other guys to sign deals that were non-quarterbacks, it made Jamar Chase's price tag higher. He's already made it known, I want to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League. Well, Max Crosby went out and trumped Justin Jefferson's contract, per year salary, per year annual income. Well, Myles Garrett went out and trumped that. Myles Garrett is now getting $40 million per year. He is the highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League. History-breaking deal. Well, if you're Jamar Chase, guess what? Now you got to go above 40 to get me back in the building. And he compromised a year ago. So I highly doubt he will be willing to compromise this season. So because of the Bengals, in terms of paying their significant players, they displayed the urgency of an 80-year-old in traffic, allowed everyone just to run around them while they sit there and they drove that old Buick 40 miles per hour and looked at everyone, passed them by. So because of that lack of urgency, they're my biggest loser.
I mean, hey, it's tough when you see your AFC North division rivals getting stronger and you're sitting there at 10-2. We'll see how it all plays out because, of course, the floodgates start to open Monday at noon Eastern. Two-time Super Bowl champion Bryant McFadden. BMAC, thanks so much for the time. Now, we're already looking ahead to the end of the season with the strongest odds to win the Super Bowl. Of course, the Eagles, plus 650. Can they go back-to-back? We shall see. The Chiefs, plus 700, along with the Ravens there. The Bills, plus 750. The Lions, plus 950. And the 49ers sneaking in there, plus 1,300. Who's going to see? A lot of ball game left.